Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular city council meeting for May the 20th, and I'd like everybody in the audience to stand, who can, to stand, so we start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any agenda additions, deletions? Any citizen participation? Madam Clerk? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We have three folks signed. I want to call your name if you would come and identify yourself for the podium for our people at home. First is Mr. Phil Morelli. He'll be followed by Natal Sims. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Just first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to discuss this very important issue for our business, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Phil Morelli. I'm president and CEO of the Morelli Automotive Group. We own Nissan of Bowie here in Bowie, Maryland. We've been in business in the city of Bowie since 2002. We started with Honda of Bowie, and later in 2012 added the Nissan dealership. We currently have 85 employees at the Nissan Bowie store, many of whom are Bowie residents. Some of them are here supporting me tonight, my team members. We're a big supporter of the city. Many of the city's institutions and charitable events we support. Just named a couple: Bowie Volunteer Fire Department, Bowie High School Foundation, Bowie Boys and Girls Club. I'm big supporter of the Chamber of Commerce. I served on the Economic Development Committee and served as its vice president some years ago. In 2012, we made the decision to annex both dealerships into the city. Both were not in the city; they were just in the county. After numerous discussions with the city, you guys had just built this beautiful building and you were adding a police department. We felt it was the right thing to do. We put the city's name on our building and we wanted to be supportive of the city. So I spoke with Joe Meinhardt and Mr. Deutsch, David Deutsch, about annexing. We calculated the expense to the dealership to be approximately $1,000 a month in additional real estate property taxes. That's what we thought it was going to cost us to be in the city. And we were fine with that. We thought it was a good move. And again, we wanted to be supportive. Fast forward to a couple years later, and what we did not expect is we received a bill for personal property tax from the city of an additional $84,000. The following year, it was $65,000. So it was $150,000 in additional personal property, not real estate. Again, I want to make that distinction. This is not a real estate tax. This is a personal property. Business owners expect to pay taxes on personal property, but usually it is limited to our furniture and fixtures, things like your phones, your desks, things like that have value. However, the city had on its books a law that allowed it to tax my vehicle inventory. My vehicle inventory could be $15 to $20 million worth of cars. The problem with that is that I don't own that inventory. The manufacturer basically loans it to me so I can offer it for sale. We have a line of credit that the manufacturer charges every time they send me a new vehicle. They do that because they send me the titles and they want some security. But as soon as that vehicle leaves the lot, I have to pay off that line of credit. The manufacturer will come check every month to make sure every vehicle is on that lot. If one vehicle is missing, I'm forced to write a check for it. To further add to that expense, we pay a huge amount of interest just to have those vehicles there to show people. So to have an additional tax on that inventory, we felt was extremely unfair. We went to the Maryland Dealers Association, and with their help, we introduced Senate Bill 478 to the Maryland General Assembly. me and 3 other car dealers from around the state who are affected by a similar type of tax testified in front of the Senate committee. And again, I want to be clear, there's only 3 cities or municipalities that have any type of personal property tax on vehicles, only 3 in the whole state, Bowie being one of them. None of the municipalities charge at the rate that Bowie does. The Maryland General Assembly agreed with us, and they passed 100% of the votes from the General Assembly. We're in favor of allowing the cities or municipalities to give basically an exemption, 100% exemption from this tax. Because what it does is it puts us at an unfair disadvantage with our competitors. In Bowie, there are 7 franchised automobile dealers. Of those 7 franchise dealers, only 2 of them have just made the decision to annex into the city of Bowie. I'm the one who made that decision for those 2 dealerships. There are dealerships right next door to us that are not in the city. They have the same size building, the same size lot, and their property taxes are already $1,000 a month less than mine. But guess what? They don't get a bill for $84,000 every year, and they're right next door. To further drive my point home, if we were a residential property in the city and we had a next door neighbor that had a similar size house and a similar size lot that paid $80,000 more in taxes, what do you think that resident's reaction would be to that? So again, we've always been supportive of the city. We love being in the city of Bowie. We love doing business in Bowie. But this tax has really put us at an unfair advantage with not only other dealers in Bowie, but if somebody can go to a Nissan dealership in Marlow Heights or in Annapolis and buy the same vehicle for less because they are paying less to carry their inventory, that makes a big difference. It also would make a lot of our decisions to carry certain amounts of inventory would be affected by this tax law. So I felt this was a great opportunity with the budget being introduced to make our case, and thank you for listening to us.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Appreciate your observation.
Thank you.
Natal Sims, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Natal Sims. I'm a resident of Woodmore Estates in Bowie, Maryland, and I'm here to thank the council for supporting the community, and in particular, supporting the denial of the water and sewer category change application that was submitted by the Redeemed Christian Church of God Victory Temple in connection with its plan to develop a 60,000 square foot facility at the corner of Mount Oak and Church Roads. As you're probably aware, about 2 weeks ago, the Prince George's County Council voted to deny that application in response to a number of issues and concerns that were raised by the community. And I don't think that result would be possible, or would have been possible, without your support. Dr. Troth, thank you for the pointed questions you asked when the developer was before the City Council in February, and for giving us essentially what was a civics lesson. You told us to stay involved in the process, and we did. We took your guidance to heart. We stayed involved. Councilmember Wolfley, thank you for recognizing the potential impact of the proposed development on the community. Your comments really drove home the point that the proposal was going to significantly impact us. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, in his absence, I do want to acknowledge and thank him for his insistence, as well as his direction to the developer to meet with the community. And of course, he ultimately made the motion on February 19th to deny support of the requested amendment. And Mr. Mayor, although I was put off a little bit by your efforts to hurry me through my comments that I made on February 19th during citizen participation, I do appreciate your vote, and I appreciate that you were the signatory on the correspondence to the County Council memorializing the City Council's position, and it was either you or the entire council that supported sending Joe Meinert, the director of the City of Bowie's Planning Department, to testify as a representative of the City of Bowie during the April 16th public hearing before the Prince George's County Council. My neighbors and I likewise testified at that hearing, but we very much felt supported by the City Council. So I'm here simply to come back and tell you thank you for your vote on February 19th, for your support. I felt that my voice was heard, and I want to express my sincere appreciation. Thank you. How was that on time, Mr. Mayor? All right.
Thank you.
Very
And
good.
by the way,
Thank
that was a
you.
unanimous council decision.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Roscoe, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Lisa Rasco, and I'm a resident in District 2, Blueberry Lane. I've been a resident since 2005. I'm here before the council because I have a grave concern regarding Airbnbs that are in this particular district. As we all know, times are changing. Airbnbs are becoming a very popular short-term rental that is utilized across the area. However, the Prince George's County Council had actually introduced in September of 2018 and formally adopted October of 2018 regulations pertaining to Airbnbs. Unfortunately, they are, as of this moment, today, they are illegal to operate within Prince George's County borders. They will not become effective until October 1 of 2019, to which any homeowner in Prince George's County must abide to PG Council's regulations in terms of short-term rentals. What I'm at a dismay is that there is a short-term rental on my property, which caused concern because having people come in and out of a residential dwelling at all types of night with different cars does not sit well with the safety that I have enjoyed in this city for 14 years. And for my neighbors and I to sit down and converse that we see different vehicles coming and going in single-family dwellings is absurd. I've contacted Prince George's County. I am that citizen that will ring the alarm when I see something that is not correct, because people rung the alarm on my house. Mr. Mayor, you came by my house when I was trying to get a variance for a shelter, for another a shelter. So I feel that it's important for me to come before you to say, you know what, I'm alarmed, because I have people that are coming on my block that I have worked tirelessly to make sure that my home is safe, that is up to standards within the city, that my son is safe, that my neighbors are safe. To have someone illegally and with just pure impunity that is still operating after she has gotten a notice from Prince George's County. I spoke with Jamie Braun, who told me that the City Council has not adopted anything to address the Airbnb, that you are waiting for Prince George's County to make their decisions on their codes. I'm sorry, I read the code, CB 10 and 11. It is illegal to operate an Airbnb in Prince George's County. You must meet the regulations and the application according to the council. I am imploring that the city of Bowie get up and adopt some sort of interim regulation to monitor Airbnbs. I do not want the city council to be reactive. I need you to be proactive, because we already have a problem with solicitors walking up to our front doors in this city soliciting or using the guise of solicitation when in fact they're scoping out what is in our homes to later rob us. Do I need to be a victim of that as well? So if you need to know what the address is, I will be more than happy to put it on record right here in the public. Or do I need to go back to Jamie Braun and continue to complain for her to tell me she can't do anything because my city council is ineffective? I'm not trying to get robbed in District 2, Mr. Wolfie. I live at 2923 Blueberry Lane. Come see me. The Airbnb is at 2919 Blueberry Lane. And if you don't live on Blueberry Lane, then I suggest you purchase a property, because then you'll understand why I am so upset. Adopt a measure.
All right, we really appreciate it. Would you make sure that you leave your name and contact number so that we can get back to you?
City clerk or the city manager?
The city clerk or the city manager.
Thank you.
City clerk is probably most effective. Thank you. Okay, that's all the people I have signed up to speak for city proclamation, for city comments. Next item on the agenda is recognition of the city's 2019 Workforce Development Program. Mr. Bugs, are you handling that? Yes. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council.
All right, let me acknowledge we've just been joined by our esteemed delegate from 23B, Dr. Watson. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you stopping by.
Dr. Watson, good to see you. Good evening, Mayor. We're here this evening to introduce you to the graduates of the city's Workforce Development and Life Skills Training Program. The 36 graduates completed a 4-week program which included life skill development, training activities, and initiatives which was conducted by Bowie Youth and Family Services, Ms. Wendy Wilcox. Wendy, would you come up? The life skills training program included goal setting, stress management, managing time and money, effective communication, and building relationships. The STEM, or Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math section was conducted by Patriots Technology Training Center. Mr. Thurman Jones, who's the founder and president of the organization, is not here tonight, but Ms. Shivers is here representing Patriots Technology and Training Services. In that section, they learned, provide information and demonstrations related to cybersecurity, aerospace engineering, computer programming, and healthcare careers. I also want to introduce you at this time to Kay Starr of our staff, who was the program coordinator for this activity. She did a fantastic job managing the program and all of its many components. And as she's going to come up and call the names of those persons who actually graduated from the program. When she calls your name, would you please just stand where you are? And that way we can recognize them. And after that, if it's okay with you, we'd like for you to come into the well so that we can take a group photo with you. This one, Ms. Starr.
Good evening. I'm going to read the names of our graduates. They're not all able to make it tonight, but we want to recognize all of them. James Burgess, Malia Burrows, Kyle Carter, Amber Chambers, Garrett Crosby, Casey Dooley, James Dooley, Gabriella Fox, Daryl Gray, Dylan Gray, Joel Greaves, Jasmine Hayes, Shadrach Holston, Caleb Jacobson, Darius Jennifer, Clarence Jones, Eric Jones, Hermela Jones, Jalen Lipscomb, Shapril Lowry, Jerron Lowry, Bryce McDonald, Bianca Moore, Giovanna Moore, Joy Maurice Moore, Philip Nissen, Eric Pullen, Hayden Roddy, William Smith, Simon Snellings, Roderick Tompkins, Mariama Umaru, Michael Ward, David Weissman, Isaiah Williams, and Jordan Williams.
Let's give them a round of applause. Please remain standing a second. Wendy, would you come up? There's some additional information Wendy has that would be beneficial both to the graduates and to their parents. It involves money. Hold on one second.
It does. It does involve money. I stopped by to see the manager at Starbucks because I thought he might have a position or two open for this group. And he actually asked for a list of all the participants because he said there were a number of stores that were hiring. And he offered to host a hiring event for multiple stores just for this group. So know that that's available.
We also want to say, in addition to that, we have 3 or 4 other businesses in the city that have offered, that have job openings that are also offering to hire our graduates. So this is the first of a number of activities of this nature that we're going to conduct. So we're trying to hopefully get some of those. I think we have like 50,000 jobs available in this county, and people are saying we don't have people qualified or willing to take them. We're trying to help correct part of that dilemma. So with this group again, would you give them a round of applause, especially their parents? Yes, if you don't mind, if you would come down now for a photo in the well, that we would appreciate it.
You guys, graduates, please come up here to get a photo with the council.
Wendy, we need you in the front row.
Let's stand over here somewhere.
Do you want us? Here we go.
Okay, everybody on this side, if you kind of turn halfway.
Yeah. Everyone on this side, turn your bodies this way and push in. All right, everyone on this side, can you take a couple steps back? There you go. Turn this way and kind of shove in a little bit.
There you go.
A little bit more. Pretend you get along. Cool. All right.
There you go. Okay.
No lack of paparazzi for this group. Gil must be famous. So you got the assistant city manager rising to new heights.
No person burned that, okay? And then, Okay, come on.
Okay, we're going to give it 3 seconds. 1.
Well, let's get one for the newspaper. Okay. Thank you all. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. All right, council, you have before you, oh, I'm sorry, council announcement. I just got a couple. This week coming up is a significant weekend for many of us live here in Bowie. It's the Memorial Day recognition program. The city takes this whole idea of acknowledging and shown respect for the men and women that have served in the military, and many of whom who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We make it a whole weekend. On Saturday, we'll have a city parade. Sunday evening, we will have a concert in Allen's Park. And then on Monday, there will be the solemn ceremony at Veterans Memorial Park in Old Bowie, starting at 11 a.m. We would encourage you to participate in as many or all of these events as you can. Show some community family spirit and show some recognition for the men and women that have largely made this country what it is. City Manager?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and residents. And since you brought up the Memorial Day issue, Mr. Mayor, I'd give you a little tidbit of fact. In December 14, 1944, there was this battle called the Battle of the Bulge. In that battle, 30,000 American soldiers were killed. But we won the battle because 100,000 of the other guys were killed. But that's what Memorial Day is about. Those guys who lost their lives in the Battle of the Bulge, Okinawa, Vietnam, Gulf War, all those nice places.
If I remember correctly, your dad was involved in the Bulge.
And my 19-year-old dad from Pritchard, Alabama, was in the foxhole with some guy from Oklahoma.
That was a good place to be.
Firing an M1 at that Tiger tank. He survived it, though, but otherwise I wouldn't have made it. But that's what that's about. One other note, back to business, sir. Today we had a meeting with the District 3 engineer, Mr. Antoine Futrell. That's the second meeting that staff's had with, and as we establish our close and respectful relationship with the State Highway Administration. And we'll pass on the summary of those conversations, but they are very focused and keen to keep Bowie the way it is. And so all of our plans are moving forward, and we have a direct line to them for all sorts of things. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Dr. Trout.
Now, when we say keep Bowie the way it is, there are some changes that we'd like to see made, and we talked about that.
I was just talking about my neighborhoods.
I know. And we talked about that at the last meeting. What we want to do is we really want to get on the priority list for the state, Route 301.
We're working on them for that, and they're listing everything we asked for.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Council, then you have consent agenda items A through C. Do I have a motion? Dr. Trout, second by Mr. Gardner.
Yes.
All right, any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. All right. Old business, FY 2020 budget, CIP, and constant yield tax. We have anybody sign up to speak on the public hearing? All right, declared public hearing has been completed. All right, Council, before we jump into this, we had the one matter that was from last week and Mr. Morelli spoke to today. And I want to see if there's a way that we can conclude that one way or the other. His request is to find some relief for that, the application of personal property tax to the millions of dollars of value that we have assessed on his fleet. I personally think it's a fair thing to do, but question is kind of if we can get a consensus one way or the other.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, you got a question or comment? Mr. Morelli had to leave.
I know he's gone. Yeah, I didn't have, my question is for staff or either the city manager or the assistant city manager could perhaps answer this question. Now, just to be certain, we're not forgiving the rears, correct?
No.
Okay.
We are not.
They have agreed to a payment installation or payment?
Well, they're working it out with the city attorney.
Okay.
But that's not, we're not forgiving that debt at all.
Okay. Now, I want to say that I personally initially was, and I want to say this to my colleagues, totally against this reduction. But I had an epiphany just driving here today, Mr. Mayor, and I wanted to start by saying that I've always been someone that I consider to be business friendly, as well as for our residents here in the city of Bowie. I was just leaving a meeting, a very long meeting in the District of Columbia today, And that meeting led me to having to leave the district, driving down through Temple Hills and then cutting over to Pennsylvania Avenue and then driving down through Upper Marlboro and coming this way, 301. And in doing that, I passed, I'm not kidding you, 5 automobile dealerships that were closed or abandoned, just vacant buildings there. And as you know, we've had a number of businesses, for whatever reason, to leave the city of Bowie to go to Crofton, to Wall Chapel, and I personally don't want to see that happen here in Bowie. But I'm not about forgiving arrears, and as the city manager and this assistant city manager, and I'm trying, I hope I'm reading your body language correctly, Daniel, but I'm not about refunding. So moving forward, I could support giving such, and I don't want to say a break, but more or less bringing these in line with the rest of the state and the county, this tax. I could support that.
Okay.
And I just want to say that, Mr. Mayor, and I may, and I'll be a big man in saying so, Mr. Mayor, I may apologize to my colleagues up here because of my actions last week.
Not necessary.
Okay, but I just wanted to say that for the record. Thank you.
Mr. Wolfley?
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers from what we have seen so far for the last 3 years in taxes. My understanding is that this organization moves somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 million or something like that in inventory a year. I did a quick check somewhere. I don't know if that number is correct. I don't think this is an overly burdensome tax. I think it's been in existence for quite some time. This is not new. I do not understand, why all of a sudden it's a rush issue at the moment. I'm certainly willing to take, time to consider, but given the lack of information and a better understanding of circumstances, I don't see any reason why we should be removing a tax for which we've had a tax for which we've had in place for a number of years. We haven't had any complaints from the other retailers, automobiles. It seems to be a consistent practice that's been made common in Laurel and I think in Greenbelt, so it's not an outlier to other cities. We provide services to the automobile dealerships we have. We heard even earlier this evening, there is a great value in having a police force in our community available to respond quite quickly. There's value in our brand, our name being in the city proper. So I don't think that that's unreasonable to think that we should be considering this as, unduly unfair without a lot more research on it. So I'm not inclined to support this at that point, given the nature and the fact that we've got issues with taxes not having been paid in the past that was mentioned earlier. I find it a little bit odd and unseemly that at the same time we're talking about negotiating or resolving the issue of unpaid taxes in the past, we're at the same time looking into removing the tax for the future without first having even resolved the indebtedness that they apparently have for us at present. So to me, I think that's a bit of an odd circumstance to find ourselves providing tax relief to someone who's not apparently yet made their full commitment financially to the city that they're supposed to have made. So that's mine at the moment. So I'm not supportive of this kind of thing at this present time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stebb?
Yeah, for staff real quick. What's the total property tax rate that the dealerships are currently paying to the county and the city?
Are you, I think that's,
I'm not talking about the inventory tax that we're discussing now, but their actual property taxes.
yeah, the business. Look, we're looking that up for you in the book there. What is the number?
So they pay personal property taxes.
Talking about Just revenue, property tax. The tax rate. Find it. Big one? No. The real property tax.
The same as residents, the 40%.
Well, it's 40 cents on a dollar per $100. That's the property rate, tax rate that we have.
So they are paying the 40 cents on the dollar that residents are also
Yes.
paying? Okay. Are there any other taxes that they're paying to the county and/or to the city, other than the inventory tax?
I'd like to clarify something for
Yeah, go ahead.
just facts, to make sure you have the right facts. This tax was imposed by the state of Maryland on all businesses, and so there are sales taxes, the inventory tax, and property taxes that the state of Maryland collects, and we get it eventually. Another fact, just to keep them straight, Greenbelt, College Park, New Carrollton, and Bowie all participate in this inventory tax that we're talking about. So, not Laurel though, they're exempt, but the county, they do not. So, just to get the facts of it.
Okay. So they're paying the 40-cent property tax. Are
Right.
there any other taxes that they're paying to the county and/or to the city other than the inventory tax?
Not to us, and I'm not aware of it, other than sales taxes for sell the cars.
Okay. So they're paying the state sales tax, they've got the 40-cent property
Yes.
tax?
They paid those as far as I know.
Okay.
And they paid the taxes for 19, which were significantly reduced to 6,000 as opposed to 6,500, and they're in arrears for 17 and 18.
Okay. I go back and forth on this issue. I've had a number of conversations with staff and with other business owners in the area. I can understand how a surplus inventory tax could be distinguished between its application to people who sell vehicles and its application to other businesses. I can see the argument how that would be particularly burdensome to this particular business, and so I'm open-minded about it. My one request would be that our attorneys at Funk and Bolton sink their teeth in to the people who are in arrears on their taxes, and that they be made to pay every single cent in back taxes that they're owed. Because I do agree with the sentiments expressed by my colleagues, Councilmans Gardner and Wolfley, on that issue. But I appreciate your filling us in. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Dr. Trout?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Esteve, for leading me into that wonderful segue, because it was my opinion that we weren't going to hold this discussion until the June meeting when the city attorney was present. So what I have on my discussion, and we can go back and pull the tapes, but I'm pretty sure if we go back and pull the tapes, it will show that we specifically stated that we did not want to have this conversation on this day because we knew that the city attorney would not be here until the June meeting. And I can't remember if it was the June 3rd or the June 17th meeting.
June 3rd is when
June 3rd meeting?
She'll be back.
So the questions that I have are dealing towards the city manager, the city attorney, and the city attorney is not here to answer the questions that were on the table when we last met. So my question is, why are we discussing it now? You can pull the tapes. The tapes will show that we said we wanted to talk about it when the city attorney was present. That's what we said.
Okay. Dr. Cingular?
Yes, I also echoed that sentiment, and I think that's why we have so many questions here today. So I'm in agreement with you, Dr. Trout. I think to add to that, I would also, so my understanding is the dealerships are paying the 40-cent tax, and my question would
be property tax.
Property tax, right.
Yes.
And so my question would be, so for the dealerships that are not in Bowie, but neighbor these other, they're paying a higher rate, so that $1, which we discussed in previous meetings.
They're paying the county property tax rate. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it's a culmination. But the other dealerships that are in the Bowie, they're caught up with their payments. They're not in arrears, as a matter of fact.
And so is there a county level equivalent to this inventory tax?
No.
So for the dealerships that are
It's a
not...
state tax that the county waives.
Okay, so I want to just be clear.
Yes.
So
And some
for the
other,
dealerships that are not in Bowie, that neighbor some of these other dealerships, they don't have a tax.
they don't have that inventory tax, no.
Thank you.
Okay, it's clear that there's not enough support to move forward on this thing, so we'll defer this until sometime in June.
Well, the city attorney, when she's here.
Okay. All right, item next
Mr. Mayor,
is,
I recommend we put that on the 17th of June. Because
again?
if we put this on the agenda, I recommend we put it on for the 17th.
yeah,
because
if
the
we do it
3rd
after we
is really
adopt the
busy.
budget, you know, there's a different procedure we have to go through.
Yeah, yes, sir, the 3rd is going to be really
So we'll
long.
understand it.
Do we need a formal motion on this issue to move it to June
Say again?
7th? Do we need a formal motion on this
No,
issue to move it to
we're
June
not going to do
17th?
anything with it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll bring it up again at a later date. All right, council, you have probably now the single most important thing that the city does over the year. Dr. Trout, do you want to put a motion on the table for budget, CIP, and constant yield tax?
That's two separate motions.
Well, yeah, you can make a motion. We have to have two separate votes.
Okay. I would move for the approval of ordinance 0119, which is the resolution, well, it's the ordinance for the constant yield tax.
Okay. All right, moved and seconded. I'm going to hold off on a vote for it right. Go ahead. And you want to do the other one? Oh, now that includes the CIP tax. I mean, the constant yield.
No, I just did the one for the
okay.
constant yield. I'm doing the ordinance, and then we'll come back and do the resolution.
Well, I don't want to take the vote on it until we got everybody an opportunity to make comments on. Well, we can go ahead. We'll do that.
There's two separate entities.
Okay. Go ahead. Do like you're going to. So you have a motion to approve FY20 budget, CIP, and constant yield tax under, that is
Ordinance
0119? Mm-hmm. Right, moved and seconded. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Dr. Trout?
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move for the approval of CIP Resolution R19-19.
A second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gardner. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. All right, before we move on to this, I want to give everybody an opportunity to see if they want to make any comments about the budget itself. And I'll go ahead, I'll start off first and we'll just go down the list. First off, I want to thank all the folks that came in and talked about the process as it went along and talked about, you know, the importance of the budget. Thank you for sharing your views and thoughts with us as this went through. I certainly want to take an opportunity to thank staff for their incredible effort in producing such a, you know, a sound budget document and all the underlying data that supported it. I'd certainly like to give a special thanks to City Manager Al Lott for all the work that went into this process, and his erstwhile City Finance Director, Brian Matthews, for making all of those little changes, and all the men and women in the Finance Department for all they've done. I'd also like to take a moment to thank City Council, you know, for their efforts and their courteous responses, and sometimes even when we had items where we might have had a disagreement on, you all handled everything professionally and skillfully, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for all of the, you know, because this budget represents our continued priority to maintain serious core services in the city, public works, public safety, recreation, parks, roads, streets, all of those things that make this city strong and effective. To that end, just today, some of you may have noticed that Bowie Patch News reported that another ranking site known as Homes Acts or something like that, they just reported today that the city of Bowie is the best place to live in the state of Maryland, of all the municipalities across the state. I would remind you that just last week, 24/7 Wall Street issued a review of municipalities and voted that Bowie was the best place to live in the state of Maryland. This follows a not too long ago story that was in Forbes magazine, that rated all the municipalities in the country, thousands of them, and said that in that thousands of list, Bowie rates number 32 in terms of quality of life and service. That's why I told you, I divide the world into two groups. People live here and people who should. This is without a doubt the strongest, the most diverse, and most family-friendly community in the region. And because of you guys out there and for you guys here that sit on this council every day, you've made this city the envy of the region, and this budget represents that. So I want to thank all of you. So I'll start with Dr. Trout for questions or comments.
You want to go on this plan?
No, we'll go right down to senior guys.
Okay.
And you're a senior guy.
Thank you, Mr.
The kids on the other end, they'll catch up.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. City Manager and staff. We have had a good budget review. We have maintained all of our core services. We've made sure that we've taken into consideration the fact that we have money in the bank. We also are looking at still maintaining our AAA bond rating, which is outstanding. And in fact, there's only several, I think there's only one other municipality in the state of Maryland.
One of only two cities in the entire state of Maryland.
And that one's not in Prince, that's not in Prince George's County, it's up in Montgomery County, but we won't name it. But, but they are friends. The mayor and I are friends. But anyway, do want to really say much appreciation for the way we've conducted the budget process this year. It's been admirable to see how we got through, and we didn't have any disturbances or anything of those nature. I do want to get some input from the city manager. I know last year we had a discussion about the constant yield tax, and here again we're taking the constant yield tax, which is a little bit less than I think I was at.
It's a little bit less than a penny on the tax.
Right. But here again, by us using that constant yield tax, that allows the city of Bowie to pay for the necessary ingredients that goes into the Chesapeake Bay, and that is what they call TMDL, which is total maximum daily load. In the city of Bowie, we do not pass that tax on to the residents, to the property owners. We eat that tax ourselves. Staff, the city of Bowie does that. That is not the case with a lot of municipalities. In fact, a lot of the municipalities, they have a separate tax for the residents, for property owners along those lines. So when you hear about the constant yield tax and you hear somebody saying, well, they could have given us a little bit more, that's not exactly true, because what we've been doing is we've been good stewards with the money, and we've been fiscally sound in our due diligence in handling all of our resources, especially our financial resources. So with that, I just want to say that we've gone through, I believe this is the 10th year. I think the last time we had an increase in taxes was 2009. So this is 10 consecutive years where we've not raised taxes in the residents in the city of Bowie. And that is not the case with a number of the other 26 municipalities within Prince George's County. Some of them were actually struggling mightfully. I've seen some municipalities, when I've gone on the third Thursday of every month, we rotate to go to various municipalities. Some municipalities had half their street lights cut off because they couldn't afford to pay for all of their street lights. That has not been the case in Bowie. So we have had good fortune. We've had good stewards before us setting forth the pay-go, and we've also had the council here, this particular council, maintaining what has been done by previous councils by not increasing the tax rate, and also maintaining all core services. In fact, we've even gone above and beyond, because we've actually increased the core services, specifically with our dispatch service and also our call center. These are things that We were supposed to have seen another tax increase, but yet and still, we were able to add these beneficial and emergency services to the citizens of the city of Bowie without any increase. So with that, I want to say thank you to my colleagues, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Garner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to start this evening by thanking the residents here in the city of Bowie for allowing each one of us here that sit up here and to be good stewards and trusting of your tax dollars, your hard-earned tax dollars. It is imperative that we are smart about it when it comes to spending your money and making certain that, one, as the mayor said earlier, that your core services are protected, where you have police, street cleaning, trash collection, recycling programs, snow removal. These are things that we must have, and then everything else is ancillary to those and providing services to the residents of Bowie. It pains me when I see here in the city, oftentimes when I see vacant retail stores and shops that have closed up that we've all become familiar with, and we see them move on to other counties or just down the road a bit into Crofton, where you have the newer shopping centers, and then we have our Bowie Town Center that is a bit lagging. And that has always been a fight of mine, and I want to say that, and many of my colleagues here, we've had discussions about the vacancy rate of our retail stores and to where that does concern us. I have a number of residents that are constantly asking for the higher end stores, and they're looking for their Neiman's and their Saks and so forth. You know, those are great stores and things of that nature, but we really want to maintain, and sometimes you do have to downshift. If you're familiar with a stick shift or a manual transmission, you have to downshift in order to go faster and move forward. And this is part of my reasoning for tonight's reconsideration as far as the automobile dealerships, because I just seriously just don't want to see any more vacant properties, commercial properties. They are an eyesore, and they are oftentimes a haven for crime, drugs, and other activities. And so I think my colleagues were, again, on the right side of that, and being proactive and assisting not just our residents that live here in the Bowie community, but also our business residents. And we do have certain corporate responsibilities as well. We keep our firms and our retailers happy, and here in Bowie, and as Councilmember Wolfley said, there comes with the city of Bowie, and there is an advantage of selling your products and merchandise here within the city of Bowie. We have income levels that reach all areas to where you can buy high end to middle to low end. So we are a community that is rather diverse economically, as well as racially diverse. And I like to see us continue to enhance on those positive aspects and things within Bowie and services here in Bowie. I want to thank my colleagues up here that when working together to forming and placing a budget forward that has passed, that is budget that is balanced. And we did have to go into the reserves. And as I mentioned, we have to sometimes downshift in order to move forward. So I thank all of the residents, first of all, again, for giving us the opportunity to serving you. I thank staff for giving us the knowledge and the assistance in providing such a fine service to the residents of Bowie. And I thank those individuals who came forward and met with me in the different special interest groups that wanted to also be included in the budget. We weren't able to take care of everyone, but we were able to take care of many. So I am grateful to that, and I'm grateful for my colleagues in supporting many of those ideas and principles. Thank you again.
Thank you. Mr. Stev.
It's a frightening thing when I'm the third most senior person on the council. I just wanted to echo what the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, and Councilman Trout have said. A big thank you, Mr. Lott, to your entire staff, to your whole team. I know Byron's not here tonight. I'm sure he's enjoying a well-earned sleep. But we really appreciate that staff takes the time to go through this multi-week process with us. The level of transparency that we do with our budgets, splitting up the departments, reviewing everything weekly for hours at a time, answering our many questions, getting back to us on important issues, making adjustments as we go. It's one of the most open and transparent things that we do in Bowie, and I'm very proud of that process and very grateful that that already existed when I came on board. 10 consecutive years of keeping our property tax rate at 40 cents for every $100 of assessed value is an impressive and very positive thing. Our core services continue to meet and in many cases exceed resident demand, especially public works, public safety, which continue to be the two most important services that my residents communicate, as well as many community services departments programs. And I'm just very proud overall of this process of the budget and the work that staff has done and continues to do in the service of our community. And with that, I'll pass the mic to Councilman Wolfley.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wolfley.
Thank you kindly, and I'll reiterate what you've already heard, but want to make sure that I make my feelings felt as well, and that is thank you. Thank you very much for all the hard work it took to put the budget together. I know it starts last year, and it seems oh so long ago, and you'll be starting again pretty soon on the next one, and I know you only have a short relief period, it seems, to escape the budget development process, but congratulations on yet another fine process and fine completed article. You did a wonderful job for us. Thank you. I'd also like to thank you for the responsiveness for everyone involved on the staff. We've had questions throughout the process. The responsiveness in getting us answers. It really moved things along and helped to get us to a successful conclusion. And I'd also like to thank the citizens out there who have provided input as well. So thank you very much. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it's not so good, but nonetheless, it's great to have the input from citizens, and I'm delighted that we have an engaged community who is participant in this as well. And then thanks again to all my colleagues here as we went through this process. I think we did fairly well. We all came out pretty much unscathed. No bruises, nothing lasting. Anyway, so thank you all very much.
Dr. Sencarter.
All right. I want to thank our city staff. And so what I think people in the audience and at home don't recognize is that we have over 400 employees that work for the city of Bowie. And what we do as a council wouldn't be possible without your support and without your the hard work that you do. So I want to say thank you on behalf. To our residents who come out and who are working tirelessly on our committees to advise council, to come out and participate for citizen participation, I wish to say thank you. And so our budget, this comprehensive budget here, represents the priorities of the city. So they represent our values, which shows what we think is important, and also the direction and the vision that we have for the city. And so this is our blueprint, not just for the next year, but for our future. And so I implore us all to hold us accountable, to make sure that what we do as a city is representative of what's important to us. And now we have an opportunity to grow and move beyond that. And so I want to thank the rest of our city council members as well. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Mr. Gardner.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second by everybody. Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Good night.
Aye. Opposed? Done. Good night.